if you do 20 years, you get a pension, right? So
Yeah.
you did 13. Similar to myself, I did 11 with the FAA as an air traffic controller. If I do 25, pension. So I left 14 years shy of it. For me, it was worth it. But for you being 7 years away, is that something that you considered staying for? Was that pension?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's interesting because in the military, there's this whole culture, right? Like once you pass the 10-year mark, if you tell people you're getting out, the whole world is like, dude, you're crazy. What are you thinking? Why not? But I just realized like that pension's going to come out to on the high end for me, it would have been $4,000, $5,000 a month. And you're a real estate guy and an entrepreneur and a business guy. So if you sit down and you think, can I make $5,000 a month in recurring income in the next 7 years if I have all the time in the world to work on it? Yeah, no brainer. So that was kind of how I had to look at it. And for me, it was actually not a financial decision. It was a fulfillment decision. I was making more money out of the Marine Corps than in probably 2 years prior to leaving. And it wasn't until I was just like, dude, I'm not happy. I'm not deploying like I used to. I'm not, I loved running convoys and running trucks and driving and being with the Marines. But the more you get promoted, the more it's not that. And so I just kind of looked up one day. I was like, this isn't what I want to do. I'm not having fun anymore. I actually went reserves for 2 years in hopes that, hey, if something kicks off or there's something cool again, I can jump into it. And I just realized that wasn't ever going to happen. So I'm like, all right, we're out. So just a few, December, I'm officially completely out of the reserves and everything. So,
and how does it feel?
Great. I mean, I say that December, January was my best revenue month so far. And we brought in 92.5. So when you talk, was it worth leaving to ditch the $5,000 pension?
Yeah.
I made more money in January than the last year I did on active duty. So
good for you. Same thing happened for me, man. I remember coworkers all telling me you're crazy. You're going to walk away from this pension. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about the pension. I don't know what it would have been. It was probably I probably would have got about $80,000 a year. Right. And then you're gonna pay taxes on that money. So let's just call it $5,000 a month. And, that's great. But think about what we're doing now. We're buying all these real estate assets, commercial real estate, apartment buildings, short-term rentals, good locations, boutique hotels. Talk about a retirement plan. One, there's no guarantee that retirement, the pension's going to be there. First of all, there's no guarantee that could be taken away. But number two is there's no better retirement plan than having all this real estate that you own. So that's how I looked at it. And I always thought, you know what, if shit hits the fan and this doesn't work out, I can always go back and finish out my time. They'll hire me back and I can go get that pension. That's the worst case scenario. I'll be in the same spot I was when I left.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So I think whenever I heard those things, I'm like, okay, well, what's the worst case scenario? And am I okay with that worst case scenario? And I was.
Yeah.
No.
And
now looking back, I'm like, dude, they couldn't pay me to go back.
I agree. Yeah. It's the idea of going back to a W-2 and just not making my own decisions is not I would rather mess everything up and be working at 60 years old than not have to work at 60 years old because I just didn't do what I wanted to do for my entire life. The fact that you guys call and say, hey, you want to do a podcast, and you didn't even know I lived out of state because I'm able to just be like, yeah, screw it. I'm going to go to San Diego for a week. I don't have to ask anyone permission. You couldn't pay me enough in a W-2 to not have that kind of freedom.
What's crazy, I didn't realize this. I did an episode earlier today with my old partner, Mike Ty. But he's local here in San Diego. And he's like, dude, what percentage of your guests don't live here? And I was thinking about it. I'm probably 90% of our guests now don't live here. They fly in, which is crazy. I never thought it was that high, but I was thinking about maybe 1 out of 10 live here because there's only so many people doing real estate investing in San Diego. There's really only, you probably name on a couple hands,
At least at a big level.
Yeah. But anyway, so where are you living now?
Springfield, Missouri.
Well, how the hell did you end up there?
Yeah, I recruited for the Marine Corps there for 3 years. And while there, that's when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I bought my first house, a duplex, did the old house hack, lived in one, rented the other. And when I moved, I got stationed in Hawaii and I was just priced out. I was still a broke enlisted guy. So I couldn't use the VA loan there. I tried, I made 6 offers that none of them got accepted. And so we lived on base housing and I was like, well, how do I get into real estate? This market's way too expensive for my budget right now. Well, I have a property manager. Let me just keep investing in Springfield. I kind of know the area. I've got a team, and really, so that was it. I mean, when I left active duty, I had, I don't know, like 116 doors in Springfield, and my ex-wife was from there, and we were still married, so it was like, well, let me move back there, and I'll be close to her family, and cost of living so cheap. I mean, at median income in Springfield is like $44K, and you can still. I bought a duplex too.
Is it really $44K?
Yeah.
Wow,
dude, I bought a
that's
duplex.
median household income, and we're not talking single income. We're talking median household income. So it could be two people.
Yeah, I bought a duplex for $85K 4 weeks ago, and it was not a crazy. I mean, it appraised at $110. It's currently rented at $1,250, so it's it's not a home run, but I put $3,200 down to buy it. And so people, when I laugh because I use math online when I'm teaching people how to analyze deals, I always go off like $100K deal because it's just easier math. For some reason, you start talking millions, people get scared. And someone's always like, "Oh yeah, you can't buy 100K houses." I'm like, I did 2 weeks ago. Like, Missouri is just so much more affordable. But then now, to your point, I got divorced, and now I either get to choose to stay in Springfield or be that like start to my son's villain arch where he's like, my dad left me and hated me, and so I'd rather be in his life and live in Springfield. So.
Because his mother lives there, and so you moving would be leaving, essentially. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
you're doing it for the family. That's a good reason. What's it like in Springfield? I've never been to Missouri, but what's the city like?
It's nice, man. So Springfield's the third largest city in the state. It's about.
What's the biggest?
I think it's still. Well, I think it's probably Kansas City now. I don't know. St. Louis is.
Oh, you know what? I have been to Missouri then. I forget that Kansas City is in Missouri.
Yeah, most of it is anyway.
Yeah. So I've been to Kansas City, but that's
so KC's nice.
Yeah.
St. Louis is also kind of nice. It seems to be like KC's going up in population. St. Louis is kind of coming down. Springfield is, if you count all the suburbs, about 500,000. So it's not a huge place. It's got 3 universities. It's your traditional like Midwest, kind of has an actual town square and some clubs and bars. It's got a cool scene, but it's just such a slow pace of life. Like hanging out with the friends is, you want to go shooting at this person's house with, we've all got guns and whatever. It's open, constitutional. It's just pretty much everything you'd think Midwest, I guess. Like, go run around in trucks off road and shoot guns and just chill, 4-wheelers, whatever. Which is why I like to travel a lot, because I'm like, this is fun. It's very slow pace of life, and we, hang out, but I still like to go visit all my friends in big cities and have a good time.
As you transition out of the Marines, that was December last year. Now you're on your own. I'm curious, like, what's your biggest takeaway? Because for me, working all the shift work for 11 years as an air traffic controller, the weekends, the nights, the holidays, 6-day work weeks, I didn't think that job was stressful until I left, and I was like, you know what? It was a little bit stressful because of like the grueling shift work, and like you would get off work at 2 p.m. and then you would like, let's say you would get off work one night at like 10 o'clock at night, come back the next morning at 6 a.m., get off at 2 p.m., come back 8 hours later, and then work at 10 p.m., all till 6 in the morning, and then you would start like your 1-day weekend and come back and start it all over. But like, fuck, I thought that was normal for 11 years. And then I got out and I was like, dude, I'm getting good sleep now. I'm sleeping 8-9 hours a night. I have time to like go work out and focus on my fitness and my health. And like, I just feel way healthier. I feel way better. So that was my biggest takeaway. But what about for you? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's funny. I always joke with people when they go to that quit the W-2 phase. I'm like, they always think, and I was guilty of this, like, I'm going to have so much extra time. And I'm like, I'll call you in 2 weeks and we'll see how your schedule is. Because like for me, the hardest thing was I thought like I'm going to have all the time in the world, and I just like overbooked immediately. And it took me a long time to figure out how to actually like balance on the schedule. And it's a whole different game. Like once you reach a level of financial freedom and don't have a job, it's really hard to figure out how you want to work your schedule and to figure out what you want to spend your time on. Like I was in a zone of like, I got to do anything and everything that makes me money. And it probably wasn't until 6 months later that I got totally burnt out and was like, okay, I got to do things that are actually fulfilling. I don't care about the money. Like, and then you realize the more fulfilling stuff you do is actually what brings you more money. But I was cutting things out that were making money, but I just didn't like doing. It took me a while to balance it out. But now, yeah, to your point, I'm admittedly still not good at the sleep cycle thing. I'm playing with the idea that I might just actually be a night person and like staying up till midnight, start my day at like 10 a.m. and go to the gym in the
nothing wrong
evening.
with that.
Yeah, it's been hard like mentally to get past like all the years in the Marine Corps of like 4 a.m. wake ups, and I'm like, am I just being a little girl, or like what's up? Why am I not functioning in the mornings? And I'm like, maybe I'm just meant to be a night person.
That whole idea that like, to be successful, you got to be up at 4:30 in the morning, and I think that's a bunch of crap. I mean, everyone has a different ideal time of when they want to wake up. And dude, I know people that are very successful that wake up at 10 o'clock and they're up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning every night working. And that's when their creative mind is flowing the most. But I don't think there's any correlation to the time you wake up and how successful you are.
Yeah.
However, I will say when I first got out of the air traffic career, I was like kind of a night owl and I would like sleep in. I was like, oh, it's kind of nice to sleep in. And then every year I'd be like, all right, let me get up a little bit earlier. And now I'm kind of like, I think a good balance for me, at least on the weekdays, is, I try to be in bed by like 10:30, and I try to be up by like around 6:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty close.
6:37.
Yeah. I try to be at the gym at 7.
Yeah.
And I'm like 10 minutes from the gym, so it's pretty easy to just roll out. But yeah, the hardest part for me was really just trying to balance, like, now that I have all this time, how do I want to use it, and what is the best use of my time, and what's, like, I would say yes to everything, and it took a while to start saying no again.
What is the highest and best use of your time?
I think at this point, the highest and best use of my time is the creative side. I'm an idea guy. I think it's the content and engaging with people online, building an audience or a network for capital. It's funny. I did a whole presentation on time management like 2 weeks ago, and someone called me out on it. They're like, I thought you were a real estate investor. I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, you just showed us your whole calendar. I didn't see a single block for real estate. And I was like, actually, that's pretty funny, because deals just kind of come to me now, and it's less about me finding or operating deals and more about me bringing the capital in for deals, which doesn't take as much time as you'd think, because I've spent all this time fostering the relationships and the network and the trust and the goodwill. The homes that we're under contract, I think I told you, I have like 14 houses right now. And I sent out an email like, hey, this is what we're looking for, either a debt or an equity partner. This is what I'm thinking for terms. Let me know if you're interested. A good friend of mine called, said he wanted it. And I get on the phone with the operator and him to do a full party introduction. And the operator's like, so what do you think of the deal? And my buddy goes, I didn't even look at the deal. If Dave's in, I'm in. And I was like,
damn,
that's pretty validating. Like, that's really cool to have gotten to a place where, the network, like the people that I have in the community, trust me and my reputation enough that, they'll take up and it's paying a good return, right? We're paying 1.10% interest. Like, it's not a bad loan, but the guy didn't even look at the deal, which to me is kind of baffling, because I'm a pretty high risk guy, and I'm like, I would have at least looked at the deal.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's a testament to, your track record and all that sort of thing. Like, I feel like for us, we have almost 100 investors now. And, we have multiple real estate CPAs. We have folks that own, $500 million in real estate that invest with us. And, they just trust us. And in all reality, I think most syndications or funds, like limited partners, invest with the sponsor because they trust the sponsor. They're investing in that individual. Yep. And so it's a testament to you, man.